Happy Monday, friends. We are back with a very special guest. Cami Foerster is a friend of mine. She's also the author of a book called The Selah Journey, a sacred pathway to reclaiming your peace, power, and freedom. It's beautiful. For those who are watching on video, you can see the book. It's a beautiful book. It's also a beautiful telling. There we go. Cami's got it too. It's a beautiful telling of both Cami's own journey interwoven with just sacred wisdom for the rest of us for bringing the concept of Selah or Sela into daily life. I am loving reading it. Cami, I would love to start this off with asking you the question, what does it mean right now to live as your most true self?
You know what? I love this question, Kelly, because for so long I did not know who my true self was. And so for me to live my true self, it really means understand and continue to grow in that understanding of who I am at my core so that I can show up in this life that I have in this world, wherever I am placed, as the most authentic version of me that I can. Because I really part of what drives me with this book and just, with communities like yours is that I truly believe we've all been gifted and equipped with certain skills, with certain perspective, and with certain talent that the world needs. And if we're trying to be somebody else, we don't have that to offer the world.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's so aligned too with what I say so frequently that we have to know who we are at our core and live as that person to be our true self.
Mhm.
That's how I would set that
Absolutely.
up as well. I would love to hear some of
Mhm.
your journey, how you came to find your true self and how, that was a process for you.
Sure. There's a few things in my background. I'm a firstborn kid. I love to help others, and I think that has been really important in my story because as I've reflected and looked back, come back to my own true self, I've recognized that there has been a pattern of caring more about what other people need than what I know to be true within me. There's also been a pattern of desiring to live up to the expectations of other people. And so I allowed for decades, I think I learned it growing up as a firstborn, wanting to make parents happy, trying to lead the way for my siblings, all those kinds of things, right? But um, learning that the expectations of others were what was guiding me.
Mm.
And I allowed that to be true for like I said, decades. And then, yeah, just this desire to be needed and want to help broke down this idea of who I was. And I became a chameleon instead, being what everybody else wanted me to be. So that's a little bit of my background. And then when I think about what that means now, it took a lot of, I kind of hit a breaking point in my world. And that created a lot of deconstruction of those two concepts. And when those things started falling apart because my life no longer, I didn't recognize myself from my own life. I had to go back to who I was before I started believing I needed to be everything to everybody else, and before I started adapting other people's expectations and listen to my heart and see how what had been true of me all along my journey to start to remember and to reclaim who I was. And that just took a lot of honesty, a lot of honesty, of reflection, looking back to my memories and saying what was true. And then, but how did I interpret that? And how did I integrate that into myself at the time? And was that true? Or was that only a partial fruit? It wasn't. So, for me, it's been, especially these past few years, has been a lot of going back and remembering with a lot of honesty and with a lot of curiosity. Those are two things I talk about in the Sealer journey, but I think we all need a little bit more of a little bit less judgment, a little more curiosity, and a lot of honesty with with ourselves.
Yeah. With that, do you happen to know off the top of your head what your sun, moon, and rising signs are?
Yeah, my sun sign, I am Gemini.
Mhm.
My moon sign is Pisces, I believe. and my rising sign is Capricorn. And I know
Okay.
that because of you, Kelly, and being in your community and your world.
That makes me happy.
Mhm.
Because listening to that, I think about with each of the signs, there's a continuum of energy, and there's that, we have some of the shadow
Yeah.
sides that tend to bring us into patterns like people pleasing. Pisces is a very flowy energy. Gemini can be very playful, but it can also be kind of a on the shadow side, that's, the chameleon. Trickster is another word I think of, but that has more of a negative
Mm.
connotation than I'm going for. But that chameleon energy feels very Gemini to me, along with, with that combination of Pisces. But I just think about that because I think so many of us are living our signs, but without necessarily knowing that continuum from maybe chameleon to agile, adaptable. It would be a different form of that
Right.
on the Gemini side.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, thinking through the astrology piece of it, how that has helped you even recently as you continue
Mhm.
this journey of living as your true self,
Yeah.
living the silo journey.
Right. So, I go back to one of my very first conversations with you when you were starting to do this work. I shared with you my logo that I had developed for the Sealer Journey, not the book, for
Mhm.
the work that I get to do. And it is this mountain with a sun rising in the back over a lake of water. And there's this pathway that goes through. And I shared that with you, and you said, "Oh my gosh, your logo for your business is your sign. Like, this is
Yes.
exactly what it is."
Yeah.
Exactly what it is. And so as I've continued to rock in that, there's been a lot of confidence. Um,
Mm.
I think there's been, especially where I'm at now, just this affirmation that I am doing the work that I have been called to do, and that my whole life, there have been other moments as we've broken down some of these things that I've realized, oh my gosh, I had no idea this was happening within this astrological context.
Yeah.
And so there's just been a lot of confirmation um, and confidence in moving forward, knowing, yeah, I'm doing exactly what I've been designed and created to do, and I'm doing exactly what the universe has called me to do as well.
And I think that's so cool to look at that, going back to that continuum that you didn't have to change who you were on this journey,
Mhm.
right? You
Right.
changed your own expression of who you are. And
Yeah.
you went from, maybe some patterns that were not working for you and developing new patterns that were working for you so you could fully express who you're meant to be, that core of who you are. And then we see that in your logo, which I think is such a cool thing that we got to see firsthand. But thinking through the Sailor journey itself and what
Mhm.
you've talked about in the book, I'd like to go back to that and just kind of talk through what parts of that can you look at and say, here's where maybe I was able to make a shift
Mm.
into
Yeah.
this more full expression of who I am.
The first shift that came along, and I'm guessing this is true probably for everybody, no matter where we're at, is just we are conditioned to believe some things that are not true about ourselves. And there's other factors at play too. There's mental illness, there's other people like that. I have a history in chronic depression. So I would say my first shift was I was in the world of a woman named Alexandra Takeda, and she introduced me to the idea of affirmations. And um, we were working on one, and the affirmation was, "I am worthy." And when I heard that, everything in my being recoiled. Like, it was
Mhm.
like, "No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not good enough. You're not," all of the things. Like, just that critical voice really came in. But I kept hearing that from her. And there was a moment where I thought, maybe I am. That little thing, it was so little, but it that was, I would say, the first tiny little step on my Sela journey was just to say, okay, maybe I am. If I am, why have I been believing I'm not worthy? It was that first little idea that maybe something I was believing about myself wasn't true. And if it wasn't, I go back and discover what actually was true. And so it's little things like that. I talk about in the book a little bit. And in our conversations, you've mentioned this, like these little small shifts. Um, because that's what it is. So there's this small shift first to like say, maybe I'm worthy. And then there's this other small shift that reminded me, oh my goodness, I can't be my true self if I'm not taking care of my own being, body, soul, and spirit. So maybe I need a little bit more sleep. Super foundational, but utterly transformative, right? Like, so just I think that belief that maybe I am worthy and maybe some of the things I believe about myself aren't true. So how can I go back and learn what is true and walk in that? And then, what does it mean to really care for me so I can show up as the best me that's possible? And the best me that's possible 10 years from now might be different than today, but I can still show up as the best me that's possible today for today.
You hit on so many things with that I talk about too. One being curiosity, another being this idea of small steps. I read a portion of just a paragraph from your book last week on the podcast
Yeah.
talking about this idea that we can't make changes all at once. Our bodies and our minds will absolutely reject it at one point or
Right.
another. And these small steps they are what makes such a big difference. And that's why a lot of times when I talk about this shift into being our true selves, this isn't a move from one track completely to another. It's
Mhm.
just an incremental shift that over time is going to make a big difference.
Right.
And that curiosity of maybe I'm worthy is a
Right.
small
And
shift that had a huge impact.
what's coming up for me as we talk about these small shifts is navigations, right? Beautiful with the stars, right? But even in navigation, if you are just off by the tiniest little bit, you will down the road end up in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
And so it really isn't. It's not these huge course corrections necessarily. This might be needed in a short term, but you're always going to come back to what the body considers as normal, right? And for these little shifts that make huge differences in our life down the road as we continually practice them, it's also the little shifts that can bring us back into alignment.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have
Yes.
to be something big and grand. It's
Yeah.
those little continual shifts that keep us going in the direction towards our true self, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
Mhm.
so powerful because it makes it easier. It kind of sets that expectation of we're not out for some huge transformational event that's going to happen overnight. This is, little, even I think about my own journey. It started with
Mhm.
reading oracle cards on a daily basis. And then,
Mm.
that was one small habit and
Yeah.
ritual that I built in that eventually helped me get to the point where I could trust myself and I could hear my intuition and I could know, oh, that's intuition, not fear. But it wasn't something that came up overnight.
Yeah. Can I
In
can
the
I say one more
Yeah,
thing about this?
yeah,
I mean, I
please
know
do, please do.
but it's fun because I travel a lot. And right now I'm actually on this road trip, right? But when I travel, one of the questions I always ask myself before I come back, and this goes with small shifts, is what is one thing that I've experienced here that I want to bring back?
Mm,
And it's that same thing, like I haven't thought of it in this context yet. As I travel, what's one thing I've learned from this culture, this people, this destination, this history, whatever it is that I want to bring back because I can be enriched by it. And I think the same thing is true of ourselves as we get curious, as we ask ourselves questions, as we get to know ourselves a little bit better. That's that small shift. What is one thing? I can't adapt everything right away. But what is that one little thing that I want to bring back from this inner journey with me and bring into more of a regular daily rhythm? What are like, thank you. This conversation, like yeah, I'm learning a lot.
I love this. What for you with the book, if you could say I don't know if it's like one hope that you have for it or one I don't know what that might feel like for you, but if you could say for my book, this is what I really want others to know about the book, about the message, about the energy behind it, whatever is resonating with you. I'm curious what that is.
As I've been able to travel around and meet people that are starting to read the book and having some conversations. And one of the things that I take away is that everybody talks about something different. And so I think this is what I'd love to say is your journey is your journey. This book isn't telling you how to live. It is giving you a compass with some of the tools so that we get to find your own path. And I love that. I mean, going back to the beginning of our conversation, we're each so unique and we each have individual gifts, talent, perspective, knowledge that we get to bring to the world. And so this isn't about telling you who you should be. This is about reminding you when you feel lost, there's a way to come back to yourself. And here are some tools that can help you do that. And so everybody's going to read it with a different lens and everybody's going to get something different out of it. Um, and I love that. And really, as I've been traveling, the whole point is to find that life of fuller freedom. And I know
Yeah.
we feel, in my experience, we feel more free when we are true to who we are.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And it's so true because I think even for me reading through it, there's things that I initially read that kind of stuck with me, but now as I've let it marinate, even last night I was vacuuming and I was thinking about this weekend and thinking about rest and thinking about, just had this really kind of wild week at work that I have so much that still needs to get done. There's so much on my mind. There's so many
Right.
undone pieces. And this idea of Sabbath rest, resting as if the work is finished, is what is
Yeah.
coming to my mind this weekend. And so going
Yeah.
intentionally into the weekend with that thought, how can I rest this weekend as if the work is finished? It's not finished. I'm going to go in on
Nope.
Monday. I'm going to log in on Monday, and there's a lot that has to get done, but it does
Yeah.
not serve me. It does not serve my well being. It doesn't serve my family for me to half-ass my rest over
Right.
the weekend.
Right. Right.
And,
Absolutely.
and that's what I love too about this is it's not a one and done. That's what's resonating with me now. Last weekend, the thing that was resonating were the small incremental changes that you talk about.
Right.
So I think that's such a beautiful thing to call out in the book that it's not a prescriptive thing. It really is, like I said at the beginning, this beautiful interweaving of your story with deep wisdom that is very
Yeah.
practical, very useful.
Yeah. There's a on the cover of the book, there's actually a lot of meaning if you wanna, like, dig into the cover a little bit, and I know
Yeah.
people can't see it, but I don't know what you call this, it's almost like a watermark or in kind
Mhm.
of in the very, very background of the book, there's this beautiful compass rose, and I remember being intentional about that, and it's not like, like we've even talked about navigation, it's not about laying out a prescribed path that somebody else has blocked.
Yeah.
It's about getting your bearings and following your path to your true north. But along the way, there's going to be all kinds of common markers. Like you just said, like this idea of what is rest as if my work is done, and that's an idea that I was able to glean from somebody who's done before in their book, and
Mm.
different things like that. So it's about learning your own, I think, markers
Yeah.
as you travel the path. So when you get off, you can come back to them and kind of get back to that groove in yourself.
Mhm. When you are working with people, what is it that, tell me a little bit about the work that you do one on one
Sure.
or in groups. Want to hear about
Yeah.
that for those who are
Um,
interested.
my favorite, I love coaching. I've been a mentor, coach, guide for pretty much my whole life. I'm just now official about it. And so I love coaching. But the beautiful thing to me are these moments. I have a couple clients right now that I've been working with for a bit and watching them go, oh my gosh, this trial came up or this challenge came up, but now I was able to navigate through it much more quickly and cleanly.
Mm.
Again, it's about recognizing we already have everything we need to do this. And so with the coaching, being able to hold space for people so that they can hear themselves think, so that they have that safe place to explore without judgment, with a lot more curiosity, those kind of things. And then watching what comes out of them is incredible. It is absolutely amazing. And I get to witness like just the beauty and the uniqueness of people as they come forward. I mean, it's just, it truly is. And the confidence. I love to see them confident. They don't need somebody else to tell them what to do and how to make
Yep.
these decisions. Always, always perspective is good. We need other people as well. But truly, they have everything they need within them to find their way. And so I just love it. I love getting to meet these people. I love watching those moments of like, oh my goodness, I got to do this. Like it was just it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I can't think of something I'd rather do, to be honest. I just love this part.
You lit up talking about that.
I
I love it.
I
Your whole energy
I
just went,
do.
"Oh, so
I
big, so
do.
beautiful." Yeah, I
I
love it.
do. This is
And
this
you're
is my
such
work.
an easy person to talk with. You are so open. That concept of you've always been a coach, you've always been a mentor, that comes through in all of our conversations. It is something that you're very, very gifted at asking questions that help
Mm.
people find their answer, their wisdom
Mm.
versus just getting what it you might, advice.
Thank you for saying that because honestly, when I was a kid, I was taught not to ask questions. So that is something, again, it kind of goes back to I've always been the same person and I've always been on this life path. And I was so stifled during that time. And there's reasons. I understand why that was advised of me when I was younger, but I adapted that. So it's only been recently that I've tapped into that part of who I am. And oh my God, it's life is so much more interesting because I learned so much more because there's questions always popping off in my head.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that
Yeah.
affirmation.
Yeah. If somebody wants to get the book, where can they find it?
Mhm. And the easiest place is gonna be Amazon, but it is available if you wanna support a local store, you can do that, and soon we will have the link on or the link is on our website too, which is www.destelajourney, F-E-L-A-H journey. So you can get it from the website, you can get it from Amazon.com or wherever whatever country you're in. Um, yeah, but it is available for local bookstores to also be able to get it. So if you want to support your local bookstore, go in and request it.
Awesome. And if somebody wants to connect directly with you, what's the best way to do that?
And you can message me at Cami, Cami, at theselajourney.com, or you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at the Sela Journey. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for your
Thank
time,
you.
Cami, and just for talking
Pleasure.
through this.
Well, I love
Well,
being part of your community for sure.
you.
And you have been such a guide for me as well. And so I really hope that for your audience, that this can be a benefit. And I'd love to connect with them at some point. So thank you.
Yeah.